in. It's the horse racing podcast with laughing in the introduction. It's BloodHorse Monday. His name's Sean. I'm Louie. Thanks for hanging out with us on yet another edition of the program. John Ennis, the sweet Irish brogue of John Ennis, will be our first guest up today. We'll hear from Olivia, I want to call her Olivia Benson, which is, I think, a TV character from Law and Order or something.
All right.
It's a bad job by me.
Glad you were focused
way
on
way
learning
into
the
horse
content
racing.
for
Yes,
today's episode.
no doubt about it. Olivia Newman will join us in her interview from down there at the OBS sales. It is that time of year. Once again, it feels like it's always that time of year, Sean. Now that I do this podcast, it feels like it's almost sales time.
Yeah, because you're
gotta buy those horses.
You discovered in doing this podcast that there's like sales every single month.
It's fantastic. I love it.
And I don't think you realize that necessarily.
I had no idea.
So.
And then we'll do some serious Derby talk. Our guy Byron King, of course, from the website bloodhorse.com, has his Derby dozen. The authority on it, sovereignty from beginning to end, gate to wire, as the kids say.
Yes.
Last year, and so obviously one to listen to. We'll talk about the Gotham, the Fountain of Youth, and of course the Rebel as well. Looking forward to the weekend, a busy time of year, Sean. We love this one. You were up at the Battaglia the other day. We'll talk with John about his winner in that one. How cold was it?
I'm on the record as saying to multiple people, and by multiple I mean Jenny Reese and Doug Cowan, so two people.
That's multiple. It sounds like multiple to me.
Exactly.
And frankly, if you catch Jenny in the morning and then Jenny at night at Turfway, those might be different people. I'm kidding, Jenny.
But I was caught on the record as saying, even though it was like 40 degrees, that this is probably one of the warmest days I've ever been at Turfway. So it was true. It was cold, but I didn't have to put on my beanie, which is always that's usually the sign. If you're looking at me, that's the sign as to where I am on the cold scale, is whether or not I'm wearing the beanie or not. I was able to keep the baseball hat on for the whole night. Now, to be fair, I wasn't outside for a good portion of the night because I was inside doing some, obviously, working. So I was inside doing some writing stuff. So I'd pop out for the races, but was outside for the duration of the Battaglia paddock to winner's circle. And I was feeling all right. I was feeling okay.
I use Turfway as essentially self-flagellation within horse racing. Like, I go up there knowing my toes are not going to feel good.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you go up there prepared for
that. There's going to be snot on my jacket from me at the end of the night. That whatever I wore up there is not enough.
Exactly.
I just know that going in, and it's my version of just a reminder that when I'm at Churchill and it's like 55 and I'm angry that it's cold. It ain't cold. It just ain't cold. And so it's a reminder of that. Great White wins the Battaglia. What'd you think?
I did like his performance. I think we'll talk to John about this. Talking post race, he was talking about that there's a lot of improvements still to come in this horse. I really liked actually full efforts runner-up finish. This is now 2 races in a row between the Leonidas and the Battaglia, where he kind of came flying in at the end of the race. But I thought Great White ran well. I thought it was a good step up from him. He had been in some traffic in the Leonidas. He didn't really get the best of trips breaking from the rail. And then he stepped forward in this one. I know probably a lot of people will look at that margin of victory. Alex Ashard, we talked to him after the race. He had said that it was a little bit of, he thinks the horse was getting tired, but he also thinks he hit the lead too soon in that race. The horse was just sitting there waiting for somebody to come catch up to him. So
he did all the work. Yes, right.
Yeah, he did all the work, kind of keeping the pressure on, and then lasting around to the end. So I thought this was a good step forward. It seems like this is a horse that the longer, my main impression, and we can ask John about this too, this horse is huge.
Yes.
And
you heard that in the call from Tony Kalo as well. The big 3-year-old. Yes.
Yeah. I'm just looking at him in the paddock next to other horses. He just looks huge. So I think once he fully grows into his frame and can fully control all of himself, I think this could be a really good horse. And it was one that John said they were kind of expecting to maybe have a big summer, and he's maybe looking like he's a little bit ahead of schedule right now. So I think there's a lot of future for this horse. Obviously, it's on the Tapeta. It's on,
so that's
he's a son of Volatile, so you wonder about the distance. So there's a lot of question marks when you're looking at the Derby. But I think we saw a legit nice horse that is going to be participating at the stakes level in some capacity, whether it be Derby or not going forward.
It's interesting too. Volatile, obviously a son of Violence, right? But you get Uncle Mo on the dam side, so you do have at least a little bit of routing on the, in this line. And so when
John feels confident that that he really likes the way he moves around 2 turns with the frame of the horse and how big he is. He thinks the 2 turns are going to be up his alley. So he doesn't, and we can ask him about this as well. He is not concerned about the Miami quarter, at least coming out of that race.
Yeah, I think the assessment of him having to make the first move and then other horses catching up, I think is really correct.
Yes.
That one to me seems like what happened in that race. The job is to win the race, not to win at a mile and a 16th projecting forward to 10
Exactly.
The job is to win the race.
Yes.
The job to make it to the Kentucky Derby is to win races that are shorter than the Kentucky Derby. That's the only option, by the way, is to compete well in races that are shorter than the Kentucky Derby, because the Kentucky Derby is longer than all of the prep races, all of them. Okay? So it's okay that this horse win a mile and a 16th in February. Okay? Like, that's okay at this point. Now, it's always going to be slower because it's the Tapeta. It's always going to be these other things. And so that part, if you wanted to tell me it was difficult to make that kind of comparison, going to dirt, whatever, I'll listen to that part of it. But as far as getting the mile and a 16th at this point, to me, that's only a positive.
Yes.
Only a positive.
So I take it you liked the win then?
I liked it a lot.
Good.
I think this is a turf horse for sure.
Really?
I really do, actually. I think he's a turf horse for sure. But we will hear from John Ennis, who will disagree with us as well. He's only ever run at Turfway Park, so it's very difficult to know where he's going to end up after this. As far as his
to be fair, volatile. Obviously, grade 1 winning sprinter on the dirt, but the Uncle Mo, probably won't have a problem with the dirt. He seems confident. John told us on Saturday night that he's trained very well over the dirt at the Thoroughbred Center up in Lexington. So he seems confident the dirt won't be a problem. Looks like obviously the Jeff Ruby's coming up in 4 weeks. It sounds like the Bluegrass is also strongly under consideration 6 weeks from now. Well, 6 weeks from the Battaglia 2 days ago. So we might get the opportunity to see what he can do on the dirt ahead of time with the Kentucky Derby. So that would be a plus.
Great White at this point, does he make an unofficial sort of top 10 or top Derby dozen for Sean Collins?
I don't think so at this point. I think he's probably maybe in my set that's right below the top 10.
Okay.
And then we'll see what he does in his next effort to get in. He could get into that top 10 depending on his next race. But I do look at him, especially with his size, I do look at him and he's a May full on top of that too. So I do look at him as maybe, there's maybe the maturity is not going to be fully there yet. He could still grow a little bit and be kind of a big horse here in some of these races in the summer. But at the moment, I liked his win. I didn't like it enough to necessarily say he'd be a top 10 Derby horse for me right now.
Street Beast, last place in this one. I think all of us have assumed always going to get back to turf at some point.
Yes.
I think at this point, if I'm Ben Krolbrook, and obviously I'm not as good at this as he is, I would be pointing to Keeneland, and I try to get this horse on the grass and then run in the American turf at Churchill.
Yeah.
I think of
I think of Transylvania and then go to the American.
I think of him as that kind of level of horse. I think he showed very well in the Breeders' Cup, for example, like very well in a race that Gestad was always winning, and then frankly ran behind 2 California-based runners.
Yep.
So of the entire world, he lost to the best 2-year-old turf horse, and then he lost to 2 local specialists. I mean, like I think he's very, very good. I'm excited, frankly, to see him back on grass.
Yeah.
And I think that's where he will end up. I think Saturday, once in a while, races are just confirmation of what would be best for a horse. And hey, one before this, no shame in any of that. Frankly, no shame in trying the Tapeta and trying this route to the Derby. Especially if your owners want to try or whatever it might be, or Ben just wants to have a Derby runner. I know you agree with that. But I think getting back to the turf makes a lot of sense with this horse. And I think, get back to Keeneland, get to Churchill, lots of opportunities for Street Beast moving forward.
Can I make my bold prediction out of the
Battaglia, please?
I think Baytown Dreamer is going to sneak into the Derby field somehow. Because he got 3rd in the Smarty Jones.
Here's what I need.
He ended up, I think, 4th here. I'm like, if he runs,
this is the West Saratoga this year, is what you're saying.
Yes, like if he runs,
he's just going to accumulate.
He's going to run 3rd in the Ruby, and then we already saw him wheel back quickly between the Southwest and the Battaglia. So say he runs 3rd in the Ruby, he wheels back and like runs 4th or 5th in the Bluegrass, and he can sneak in on like those 20-something points if there's enough horses that drop out. That's my bold prediction out of this race, is that Baytown Dreamer is going to sneak into the bottom of the Derby field.
I love it. I also, by the way, Paul McEntee, if you need to leave Orlando Boca Chica aboard. I need Orlando Boca Chica riding in the Derby. These are things that I need in my life. Is Orlando Boca Chica on a Derby horse next to Joe Ramos or something. Like, these are things that I do in my life. Do you understand me? Joe Ramos, the second mount, he's like, hey, young man, how are you over there, Orlando? You doing okay?
Yep.
So he's like looking down on him, like as a grandparent. He's real proud. He's like, you know what? You made it. Isn't this the best? Yes. Now let's go run 16th and 17th. All right, let's bring in John Ennis. This guy, I'll tell you what, poor John Ennis, I'll tell you what, has to do my radio show a couple weeks ago.
Ooh,
and
that's
then
rough.
We interview him, okay? And then he goes ahead and wins a Derby prep. So if I'm John Ennis, I would have enthusiastically signed up for this show knowing that I was going to be on it. Hi, John. How are you?
How you doing, lads? All good?
I think so. Not as good as you're doing, of course. Not as well for sure. But hey, Saturday night, Turfway Park, your horse wins the Derby prep. Walk us through it.
Can't believe it. Wasn't expected, to be honest. It was a kind of a good renewal of the race, I thought, and I just didn't think he was maybe ready for this type of race just yet. And he went, and I thought he'd run good, but I didn't think he'd go and win like he did. And no, it's crazy. Dream. Can't believe it.
Well, take us through a little bit of his maturation over the last few months. I know you told us when we were talking to you after the race on Saturday night that at one point you guys kind of backed off, sent him back to the farm at Three Chimneys. He's a huge horse, so I'm assuming a lot of that is just kind of letting him grow into himself. Just take us through kind of these early stages with him.
It was the same as any other horse, really, but he was such a big animal that we knew and probably thought in our own head that he might and probably would take a break during the summer of his 2-year-old career of getting him going, and he did. So we kind of just backed off him, and I think we gave him 60 days at the farm of just basically doing nothing. And at that point, we decided to geld him, which I think was a smart move because he was such a big horse, and he's probably 1,200 pounds now. So if we left him as a colt, he probably would have been too heavy, might not have even started yet. So we made the decision to geld him, and you know, it's great. It's lightened him up a little bit. Obviously, he's still kind of a weak horse, but yeah, as soon as he came back in from the farm after gelding, we kind of just moved. You know, we stopped a little bit just to have him body catch up again, but we kind of moved right along with him, and everything's great.
Trainer John Ennis with us, of course. Great White, the winner of the Battaglia Saturday night at Turfway Park, 20 points on the road to the Kentucky Derby with that win. You mentioned not an expected win, John, and look, 12-horse field, never know what's going to happen, but talk us through the process of deciding to run him in this race now.
Well, kind of this time of year, well, he won his maiden. This time of year, a horse that wants to go 2 turns, especially with the Leonatus and the Battaglia and then the Ruby coming, there's not many races for him. The other than allowance might not fill at Turfway, and I want to keep him here at home. So he was very good in his maiden win. He didn't disgrace in the Leonatus, and he didn't have a great trip. And Street Beast was your favourite, and I only got beat 4 3/4 lengths behind him. So yeah, it was, you know, wait around for an allowance that might not go, or take a shot going a little bit further in the Battaglia. That was my thinking. I think he's a nice horse, but I didn't think he was ready for this yet, or I didn't think he was going to do what he did, because I know he's probably going to be bigger and stronger next time.
Well, when you were talking to us the other night, you kind of mentioned how you kind of told the Three Chimneys team this might be a nice summer horse for us. So kind of showing the expectation. The fact that he here in February.
So I said the Haskell now. Is that where we're at?
Yeah,
like,
I guess we're looking at the Haskell. But summer horse. But now that he has won this race in his 3rd start, he's on the Derby trail now in February. What does that just say about kind of his raw talent level? And then once his body and everything else kind of catches up to him, what we could expect from him moving forward?
Yeah, he's obviously got immense talent. To do what he did, first and foremost, wasn't expected to win first time out. Didn't think he'd win going 6 furlongs. But as you know, that's what good horses do and Derby horses do. They win first time out going short. So yeah, his talent is definitely there. And moving forward, we're super excited. I'm going to train him like I've always kind of trained him. He doesn't need much galloping. He will eventually, as the summer progresses, when he fills out, but he's still only a frame. So I just want to get him to either the Ruby or the Bluegrass, like he was coming into the Battaglia, just feeling good about himself. He's fit. I just want to get his legs underneath him, and yeah, it's what he did Saturday gives me so much confidence going forward in whatever race we choose to win. I'm going in there. Yeah, we're kind of going to be an outsider, maybe overlooked, but kind of not scared of anyone really.
Well, take us through that decision process. So on one hand, you have the Jeff Ruby at Turfway, a track that he's proven over, a track that you know he can handle. On the other hand, you have the Bluegrass that gives you extra time before the race, 6 weeks instead of 4 weeks, and you also get to take a shot at the dirt before the Kentucky Derby as well, see if he can handle that. So what will that decision process be like over the next couple of weeks?
It will be totally him. It'll totally be the horse, how he physically looks. He looks fantastic now. He came out of a race so good, so good. So it'll be him physically, how he looks. When they're that big, you have to physically look at how much this race has taken out of him physically. So that'll be a big factor. Whether we go 5 weeks or a month back to the Ruby. It's one of those things, if you run, hopefully he gets points to get into the Derby. You know, I think if he runs in the first 3, it might be enough points to get into the Derby in either race. But you kind of, do you run back in 4 weeks and then give yourself 5 weeks to the Derby, or do you run back now in 5 weeks and give yourself 4 weeks to the Derby? So it's kind of like the Ruby probably could have 14 runners, where the Bluegrass might only have 9 or 10. So I don't think there's a wrong decision. So I'm not going to dwell on it much. I'm not going to like drive myself crazy thinking which is right. He's going to tell us, and when he's ready to run, he'll tell us, and that'll be the decision. And if he's good enough, he'll get there, and if he's not, he's not. That's the way it's going to be.
Another interesting thing that I thought you mentioned the other night was Keeneland. The track is bigger, the oval's bigger, and it seemed like you thought that could maybe play better for him as the big horse that he is. Just what's your mindset on that?
Yeah, he's a look. He breezes on the dirt here at the training center. He breezes really good. Looks like a nice horse on the dirt. He's never been over the Keeneland track. He's never been in a race on the dirt. The bigger sweeping turns at Keeneland can only suit him, can only help him. His stride length is like, I think he's near 26 feet. He's like, I think 25.8 or something. He's up there. I was just checking it the weekend after. His stride length is pretty big. I think Three Chimneys do all his stride logistic stuff on their horses and stuff, and he's like, might have been the second biggest I've ever had. Like, and he's still not there. Like, I think he'll get stronger and longer as.
I believe his 3-year-old year, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think it'll be a hinder him. Everybody's probably say I should go to the Ruby because he's so polished at Turfway and whatnot, but you can get a lot of unlucky runs in the Ruby and not get lucky running and finish 6th, beating 2 lengths or a length and a half, and not getting your trip that you wanted to, and then obviously you're not in the Derby then. And the Derby's not the be all and end all, but we're kind of on it now, so we're kind of going to try and choose the right path if we can.
That's the voice of John Ennis, of course, trainer of Great White, winner of the Battaglia over the weekend. When you and I spoke on the Kentucky Racing Spotlight just a few days ago, John, you talked about your approach and each horse being an individual in your barn. Great White, a son of Volatile. Did any part of you wonder about the 2 turns thing, or did you just see the size of this guy and go, no, he wants 2 turns?
No, 100%. I was like, this is a big sprint, and this is just a big sprinter. But the guys at Three Chimneys assured me all the family are middle distance in Brazil. This horse will get 2 turns. I'm thinking, I don't know if he will. And everybody kept telling me, and that was just me, the trainer inside me, doubting. But now that I've seen him run twice 2 turns, I've no doubt that he will get the 2 turns. And I don't think the mile and a quarter is going to be a problem for him, because the other horse, Brad's horse, was catching us, but we galloped out in front, and I don't think getting past him galloping out. So, and it's just his third run. He's his third run. It's just his third race. He's a May foal. He's massive. He's unexposed. There's so much more to come from this horse. So much more.
You've mentioned Three Chimneys a couple of times. Not only do you train this horse, you co-own the horse with Three Chimneys as well. How did that come together? I know it kind of came out of him being available in the digital sale as a yearling. Just take us through that story.
Yeah, so he was on the digital sale. I look at every horse, every sale nearly, and I just loved him as a yearling. I loved him, and I went out to see him at a farm, and they purchased him, and thought not much more of it. And 6 weeks later, they called me up and see would I like to get into a partnership with them. Jumped at the chance, privileged to get in a partnership with Three Chimneys, but I wasn't doing it because it was Three Chimneys. I was doing it because I liked the horse, and they have been super easy to deal with from the minute we got together. And Gonzalo is a huge supporter of the game, and he said, John, you're driving this bus. He said, they don't put in, they don't put out. Whatever I want to do, they don't question. So any decisions that I get wrong, it'll be on me because they're leaving me drive this train.
Trainer John Ennis, talking his relationship, of course, with Three Chimneys Farm, with whom he owns Great White, who's now on the Derby Trail, whether John wants him to be or not, it sounds like. And so the big boy is a little bit ahead of schedule. I mean, John, is this, ask it kind of a different way. Is this part of the great part of your job? Is that stuff like this just, you're like, oh, I got a big sprinter here. Great. This is going to be great. And we'll figure it out. We'll do the big sprinter thing. And then all of a sudden he wants 2 turns and you're on the Derby Trail because you've just, you made the right choice in a digital sale. I mean, what a weird job you have, John, in the best way.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy to even think about. Like, I'm not training that long. I don't have that many horses in comparison to the guys.
Sure.
I don't know how them big guys do it because I take my hat off them. It's such a hard grind. This training is so hard. And to have another horse in the second horse in, I think 3 or 4 years, 3 years, to be on the Derby Trail is just a dream. Like, I think if he does get there, like, I'm going to enjoy it more this time. Last time with Epic, it was kind of, we're on the outside looking in and kind of, but if he does get enough points, and I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy it. There's no pressure. I say I own half the horse myself with Three Chimneys, so there's zero pressure. And I'm not going in there thinking we're just an also ran. Like, I think this horse is legit. He's a legit 2-turn horse. He got a high cruising speed. So I don't think there's going to be any problem. If he does get there, I'm like, you know what? I have a shot with this horse because he's a nice horse and he's unexposed.
John Ennis with us. Everyone can hear your accent. You even said it on radio the other day. Obviously, I'm from Ireland. You said the Derby thing over here. How do you find it? And do you obviously enjoy being on the Derby Trail? How do you find the Derby over here?
Oh, sure, it's fantastic. Sure, there's like zero pressure. I think it's every trainer's dream. I said years ago when I came over here first, but I must have been here 10 or 12 years, and I said I'd never go to Derby unless I had a runner in it. And then the following year after, Epic came along, and now this year again, Great White and Genie Mac. If I can get him to Derby, it'll be just and there's no pressure. There's no wrap him up in cotton wool. There's no, just let him be a horse. He's still, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And if he's going to take it, he's going to take you there. But I wouldn't swap him, especially here in Kentucky, for any other horse.
Well, you look at what you accomplished a few years ago with Epic Ride being in the Derby, and you kind of mentioned that you don't expect yourself to be in this position of having another Derby horse already, but that's just a real testament to your training, your clientele as well, that your stable's getting better over the last couple of years, hasn't it?
Well, look, it's I think, it's, I don't know, it's what it is. Maybe a lot of luck, probably, that you just get these horses and find these horses. But yeah, no, I couldn't do it without the team I have back in the barn. I couldn't do it with all my good staff, my riders, the clients that have been with me from the start, and new clients that came on board. They're all loyal, they're all supportive, and yeah, just that's what every trainer needs to progress, is get on the Derby Trail, get those better horses, get the better bred horses, and turn up on them Saturdays and them stakes. And so I'm only a small cog in the wheel. That I don't know how to say it, but I'm only a small cog basically there. I'm just kind of trying to point it in the right direction. All the rest of the guys are there helping me.
John Ennis is trying to say he's not the star of the show. That's what he's trying to say. The horses are absolutely the star of the show. The
horses are the stars. The horses, I couldn't, the horses are there to everything,
Well, speaking of the stars of the show, we've mentioned Epic a couple times. He on Saturday returned to the work tab for the first time this year, I believe. What can we expect from him this year? We saw him win the Mint Millions at Kentucky Downs
How'd he
last
look?
year.
Good
Yeah,
work,
how do
yeah.
you look, and what can we
Yeah.
expect from him as the year goes on?
He's training. It's funny. He worked Saturday morning, and Great White was leaving to go to Turfway about 3 o'clock, 3:30, and we came back there to ship the horses to Turfway that evening. And I don't know, was it the trailer outside or Epic just having his first work? But he was lit up. He was booking and all crazy. Had to take him out with lip chain, give him a walk. He is like, he's awake. He thought he was going racing. He's ready. I think he looks fantastic. We gave him a little vacation there just because he had a hard campaign of last year, and he's come back bigger, stronger. Looks fantastic. I love that horse. He's just he's sound. He's great demeanor. He tries every time. So yeah, he's gonna be shooting for Keenan's second weekend in April.
Cool. There you go. Well, Epic Ride, return to Keelan. Why not? There
Yeah.
you go. John Ennis with us.
Maker's mark, hopefully.
Oh, let's go. Oh, man.
Get that grade one win on him, right?
Speaking of Alex Richard, by the way, no big deal. But no, you have a very interesting 3-year-old filly in your barn who finally lost in 2026, and her name is Coco Connect. But you wheeled her back. You tried her on the Bourbonette Oaks Trail here, the Oaks Trail, and sort of in general, John. I like her a ton. We just talked about her a couple of weeks ago. How did she come out of the race, and what's her next? What do you think her next steps are?
Yeah, she's a beautiful filly. Not much smaller than Great White, to be honest. Big filly, probably 17 hands.
Right now. You're saying going to be a big horse. That's right. Yeah.
17 hands. She must be 17 hands. Very close with it. But she's a lovely filly, very unassuming, quiet, laid back filly, which you wouldn't think. You think she's 2 turns, but no, she doesn't get to 2 turns. She kind of needs to be revved up, speed. Came out of the race fantastically. Looks great. So she's going to have an easy week or 10 days, and then she's going to be aimed for opening weekend at Keeneland for the Beaumont, going 7/8 in the dirt. She broke her maiden at Keeneland, and I think she'll be a big price in there, but there's a good chance she'll run a big race in there.
Yeah, might not be a big price one.
I'm going to ruin it for you, John. Sorry.
Yeah, Louie might bring your odds down on that
just a little
one.
bit. Yeah.
That's her plan anyway. That's where she's going to be aimed for.
Ruin the Beaumont.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned a couple times when you've been listing some of these ideas as far as races go for the horses, where we want to stay in Kentucky. And you said it the other night as well when you were talking about either the Jeff Ruby or Bluegrass for Great White's final prep. What is it about Kentucky racing that is so special and that you want to be involved in?
It's the best race in the country, in my opinion. The money is so good. It attracts big owners, big horses, well-bred horses. I live here. I support it. Don't let anyone tell you that maidens in Kentucky are not strong. The maidens here at Turfway can run in any maidens in the country. They can run with any. You win a maiden here in Kentucky, you win an allowance or a stake. They're legit horses. So Turfway kind of back years ago, 5, 6, 8 years ago, there were softer maidens, but not anymore. These are legit horses, legit races, full fields. So yeah, I think the Battaglia was a good race. I think the Ruby will be an exceptional race this year, and then obviously the Bluegrass. So they're good preps, they're good maidens, good races, and what we want, great competition.
And great purses. Nothing wrong with any of that stuff. Yeah. He's Trader John Ennis. Well, congratulations. Thanks so much for jumping on the show, despite having to have talked to me on a radio show and Sean in a winner's circle. It's a lot of exposure.
We'll give you a couple of weeks off from talking.
Kidding. Let's give John some time here. Doesn't have to do this stuff anymore. Well, John, thanks so much. Have a great rest of the week, bud.
Thanks, lads. Appreciate it.
Thank you. There you go. John Ennis with us. Appreciate him being on the program with us here on BloodHorse Monday. This is such a fun time of year. I love these interviews. Last year we met the Habermans. This year, guys like John who he's got talented horses that belong in the Derby. Yeah. Again, like that's just fun. And so it's nice to see these guys. It's also interesting to hear a guy like John say out loud, I don't know how the guys with more horses do it. Yes. Right. Yeah. It's interesting to hear that because we kind of assume, once you get to a certain size, it's this, is that. It's probably not. Right? No, it's every day. It's 4 a.m. It's all the things. And so we appreciate John jumping on the program. You were there the other night. Did you get a sense of, because I just got a sense of a little bit of surprise from him that his horse put it all together for this one did you have a sense in the moment that he was like that too? Yeah.
That's why when you asked me earlier on the show before John came on whether or not he would be in my top 10 at this point, that was why I said no, is because, and I didn't want to spoil it before John got on, but just there was a level of surprise that they ended up winning the race afterwards, which if you're thinking about who's going to win the Kentucky Derby at this point, it's not exactly what you're looking for, surprise in the connections, but hey, that just shows that this horse is ahead of schedule, that he is a very talented horse, and that he could potentially make some noise here as we go forward. But I also, between talking with him Saturday, between talking with him here today, just the kind of hearing him talk about being part of the Kentucky Derby experience and just kind of the awe of having another horse on the trail. The first time I ever met John was the morning of Epic Ride's run in the Derby 2 years ago, and I was up on the viewing stand waiting to see if anybody came out to train at the time before they closed the track and then opened the gates for the crowd. And he came up on the viewing stand, and we just talked for a little bit, and he was just kind of soaking it in a little bit.
Calm before the storm.
Yeah, he probably had a pretty interesting week in terms of to be wondering whether or not Epic Ride was going to actually run, since he was on the also eligible list and everything like that.
21 or 22?
Yeah, he was 21.
21, yeah.
Yeah, and the only horse that came out to train during that time was Mugatu, who was number 22. It didn't get in.
Oh yeah,
but
Mugatu.
Yeah, but
Casio runner, I think.
Yeah, well, he ran in the Preakness.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, but it was, and you heard him say, like, I'm gonna enjoy it more this time if I make it. And
I was gonna ask him. You wanted to ask another question, which is obviously fine. I was gonna ask him if it's a little like, I remember parts of my wedding day, but it's largely a blur, right?
Yeah.
150 people were very nice and showed up and brought us things and all the stuff. Thanks for being there. I don't remember it. And so I wonder if Derby days are a bit like this, right? Where it's just a whirlwind and you've got this connection, you've got this, you've got a sponsor, someone from Churchill's like, hey, you got to be at this spot.
Yeah.
We need you for media over here. I'm positive parts of it are very unpleasant.
Yes. Well, and on top of that, one of the things that I thought was interesting for him to say is he can be more relaxed this time because he owns half the horse. So you're not necessarily, you don't have to juggle the expectations of the ownership on top of it, which
and it's Three Chimneys. They've
been around. They know what it's. They know what it's.
That's
like,
the other part. When your partner is someone like Three Chimneys and not, no offense, whatever other owner that hasn't been in a spot like this before. Yeah. Three Chimneys is going to know what's.
I mean, right. I've seen it just in the 2 years that I've done the Derby for BloodHorse. I've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it as well, where some of these trainers that. Sometimes it's like you can tell in the back of their mind they know that the horse is not going to succeed at a mile and a quarter on dirt in the Kentucky Derby, but they gotta put the smile on, they gotta put the comments out that they think they got a chance, because you got to please the owners. And obviously I've advocated before, if your horse qualifies for the Derby, I think you should go. And
then there's endless,
because that's the biggest race in the world,
right? Because there are horses that exist that for whom the Derby was not a good decision.
Yes,
there are very few though. And that's the thing, right? Whitmore finished last in the Derby.
And then he comes back and is a champion sprinter a few years
later. It's okay that Whitmore was last in the Derby.
Yes.
Everyone's fine.
But
Mendelssohn was last in the Derby. He's fine.
Yes, exactly. So, I definitely support that. But just hearing from the trainer, like, all right, if I make it there, like, this is really my opportunity to just sit back and enjoy the experience. Cool. I don't have to call somebody the second the horse finishes training and give them an update. I don't have to worry about allowing all of the owners' friends that came with them to the race into the barn to see the horse. You can kind of be a little bit more, all those kind of extra things that we don't necessarily always think about that add up when you have the stress of being the trainer and making sure the horse is ready to go for Saturday. And you have all this extra stuff. Kind of put some of that aside. You can kind of sit back and relax a little bit. So hopefully for John, he Great White will make it to the Derby. He can sit back, relax, and enjoy that experience and what it's like to not just be a Kentucky Derby trainer, but a Kentucky Derby owner.
The other part of that was so awesome was that John just casually said, "Oh yeah, she'll run on the Belmont. Oh yeah, he'll come back. After I'll be back in Keeneland." Yeah. Like he just, okay. Must be nice. It's good stuff for sure. By the way, he's wrong. She's not going to be like 20-1 on the Belmont.
Yeah, because you're gonna bet the house.
No, because she broke her bait in Keeneland and then ran people's faces off at Turfway. Come on.
Stop hyping her up if you want a good price.
Did you see the handle on the Cincinnati Trophy after I didn't show up about it? Did you see that, huh? How about that?
Well, was your show 4 hours long?
Little record on the Cincinnati Trophy.
There you go. All because of Louie. only because
it's not because of a giant field and very good, any of those things. All right. Well, we have other very, very good things to get to in here, including an OBS interview with our friend Olivia, who has been on here, and a Derby Dozen with our friend Byron King, of course, at BloodHorse.com. Where would you like to go first, Sean?
Well, we're on Derby topic, so we might as well stick with the Derby. So we'll talk to Byron King here. He's our news editor at
Blood By we mean Sean.
Yes, yeah, that's true. I talked to him in the BloodHorse office a couple days ago. So this was pre-Battaglia. So no conversation about Great White here in this interview, but. The Derby Dozen is a feature series that we run on BloodHorse.com. You can also find it in the BloodHorse Daily every single Tuesday, where Byron King will rank his top 12 runners on the path to the Kentucky Derby. Last year, as Louie mentioned at the top of the show, he had Sovereignty in the number 1 spot from the very first week, and he never left the number 1 spot, and then he won the Kentucky Derby. So I'd say that was a pretty good call on Byron's part.
Not a bad job by Byron.
Unfortunately, we're not going to see the same success this year because he had Ted Nafi on top the first 2 weeks, and then Ted Nafi got injured and had to jump off the Derby trail. Yes.
If the Ted Nafi folks had just come on this show, oh wait, BloodHorse Monday bump.
Yes.
He won the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah.
And we did the job.
We did the job there. But so this is a great feature, probably one of our most popular features on BloodHorse's website. So if you have not checked it out, make sure you do every single week. Byron also does a video edition every Tuesday where he'll explain maybe some of the changes, kind of talk about the recent prep races. So I'm sure tomorrow he'll kind of mention what his thoughts were on Great White this weekend and kind of what he's expecting from some of these Derby preps coming up. So yeah, it was kind of interesting to hear his logic as far as how he decides what horses are Derby Dozen worthy. And so I think it's a pretty cool interview. So we'll go ahead and check that out.
In 2026, we're going to try to keep you up to date with what is happening at BloodHorse and BloodHorse.com by introducing you to more of the people that make the place go. Byron King is certainly one of those people. Here's Sean's interview with him.
We're here in the BloodHorse offices this week. I'm with Byron King, our news editor here at BloodHorse, to talk a little bit about the Derby Dozen, which you can find on BloodHorse's website every single Tuesday. Byron, let's just kind of start off by talking a little bit about what is the Derby Dozen.
Well, as its name suggests, it's my top 12 rankings of horses that I think would be well suited to winning the Derby. And it's not based on the moment, in other words, like who might win the next mile and 16th race, but it's on a basis of who might excel on that first Saturday in May at Churchill Downs, mile and a quarter in front of 150,000 people.
So when you're looking at first making these rankings, these always start off kind of in the middle of January around that, I believe, is it right after the Lecomte?
Correct.
So at that time of year, when you're first putting these rankings together, what are those key factors that you're looking for in horses to make them a Derby Dozen type of horse?
Well, that's a great question, but things like class, speed figures, staying ability, and then trying to weigh which horses might be on the upswing. Which ones might, if you had a horse that's, say, debuting in June or July, that trainer likely viewed his 2-year-old as very precocious. And so that horse might not have as much upside to get better at 3 because they were quick developing types, right? Yeah. So those kinds of horses tend to get diminished. But you try to look for those that have some staying power that maybe show something over a route of ground.
And you look back at last year's Kentucky Derby, from the very first posting that you had Sovereignty in that number 1 spot. At that point, he'd only won the Street Sense Stakes. He'd been, I guess, off for 2 months, hadn't been in a race at that point. What was it about him that set him apart at that point to where he ended up leading the rankings all the way through the Derby?
Well, it was very fortuitous that he did. I'm glad that he did, but he showed me so much in that race. He won by like 5 lengths, but he circled the field. He blew past them. And I felt like that race was very telling in terms of this was a horse that's going to love a mile and a quarter. And clearly he did it at Churchill Downs, so the track wasn't going to be an issue. And, of course, it helps that he's trained by Bill Mott and, by Into Mischief. And he also was very different than your standard kind of speedball. He was a very leggy horse, a horse that had a wonderful stride on him. That's another consideration. Usually longer striding horses are better, more effective routers than smaller horses. That's not always true. You know, you get some horses last year, for example, Cole Battle was on the smaller side. But, you know, that may have shown up a little bit in the Derby for him. You know, he didn't stay the 1.25 miles as well as some of the others, or may just simply not have been good enough. That happens too. But Sovereignty just kind of had it all together. And some of the runners from last year were a little more suspect in terms of 1.25 miles. I think a lot of people like Citizen Bull and whatnot. A lot of people kind of thought, I don't know about him at 1.25 miles. This year was going to be different with Ted Nafi because he looked legitimate, and he was number 1 to begin the year, but of course he is off the Derby trail.
So unfortunately, we're not going to have 2 straight years of you nailing the horse.
No, start to finish, right? It's very hard to do.
Yes, but so this year, right now at the top of your rankings is Paladin, coming out of his Risen Star Stakes. What is it about him that gives him the number 1 spot right now?
Well, he's got 2 graded wins at 1 1/8 miles. He cost $1.9 million at auction.
Yeah.
You know, he's a son of gun runner. He is an imposing horse with a beautiful stride. But beyond all those things, what I loved in his Risen Star was it was a race that he probably should have lost in terms of the way it unfolded. There was a loose leader in Chip Poncho who was cruising up front. Looked like initially he was going to spurt away from him, and he just kept coming after him. I mean, he showed that kind of determination that really defines a quality horse. And to do it at 1 1/8 miles and finish strong at the end points to him liking 1.25 miles. So I brought him up from 3rd to 1st, passing my top-ranked horse at that time, which was Further Ado, the Kentucky Jockey Club winner from last fall.
So you had Further Ado second behind Ted Nafi for those first couple of rankings, and then he took over the number 1 spot when Ted Nafi got sidelined. What was it about him that kind of had him in that number 1 spot? And then kind of reading, after you've now put Paladin in the number 1 spot, kind of reading your explanation about Further Ado afterwards, seems like now you can see some reason as to why he isn't necessarily the top horse anymore. What was your initial impression, and now how has your opinion changed seeing Paladin?
Well, number 1, he was a kind of a fringe number 1 for me anyway. You know, I felt like Ted Nafi was kind of up here, everybody else was down here, you know. But what I do like about Further Ado is his 2 routes have resulted in wins. The first one at Keeneland, he broke his maiden by 20 lengths. And then he came back and he won the Kentucky Jockey Club. Now, he won that race. He won by he won by 1 3/4 lengths. But I don't, in hindsight, looking at the Kentucky Jockey Club, the runner-up was Universe. Universe, by contrast, was 4th in the Risen Star. Some of the other runners that ran in the Kentucky Jockey Club have not gone on to distinguish themselves thus far. Soldier and Diplomat, who was 3rd, did come back and was 2nd in the Southwest, but that's kind of like the best example of a good effort, right? So I don't know that Further Ado beat the greatest field in the Kentucky Jockey Club, but he did win. And I think he is a horse that has a very, very bright future. His 2 wins at 1.16 miles, though, compared to 1.8 miles for the Paladin.
Now, when you look at kind of the rest of your rankings, I believe you have nearly 3rd. Is he a horse, or any of the other horses that maybe you have down in those lower spots you kind of have on, you know, if they give one more solid performance in their next race, could really kind of shoot up and join Paladin in that top conversation?
It could happen. You just really never know when it's going to happen. I think that's one of the reasons why we see the Kentucky Future Wager, the Kentucky Derby Future Wager. You see the all others always take so much support because they can literally come out of nowhere. Horses are really developing as spring 3-year-olds, and they can dramatically improve their form from race to race. So it would not be a total surprise. Also, I'm really curious to see how some of these California horses run in the coming weeks. You know, some of the biggest names out there, the Brants and the Litmus Tests, those horses have not yet run this year. So we'll get a little bit more of a barometer on them and have an idea of whether they're at the top of the division or farther down.
I'm interested in kind of when you get toward the bottom of the rankings, like when you get down to that 10th, 11th, 12th place, is there anything like that will help determine those, especially as we start getting a month into the future where you can start seeing who's going to have the points to qualify? Do you start does that start weighing into them being part of the list at all?
At this point, I don't weigh 2 points too much because I think they obviously go up so much in value. The Risen Star was the first race that had 50 points to the winner, and that essentially puts anybody who wins it in the Derby, right? So these horses can very quickly earn their place if they score coming up. But I will, as we get closer, start looking at it a little bit. I mean, for a while last year, even though I viewed him like a lot of people as a major contender, I didn't have Baeza in the top 12 because it looked like he wasn't going to get a spot. And you'll recall that he was on the also eligible list and needed a scratch to even get in. You know? So it wasn't that I didn't like his race. He ran great when he was second in the Santa Anita Derby, but his points total put him at a disadvantage.
Yeah. All right, so every Tuesday we can find us on the website. You also do a little video explanation as to your changes week by week as well. We can find that on BloodHorse website. Anything else you want to tell the public about the Derby Dozen?
No, I just I appreciate the fans really seem to dig the feature. They really like it, and both from my predecessors who wrote it as well as what I've contributed to it. So I'm very appreciative of their support.
He's the hot hand right now. He had Sovereignty all of last year. Let's see if he can nail another Kentucky Derby this year.
Well, Byron King on a Tuesday.
Yeah, so
Why not? And you talked to him on a Wednesday.
I did.
And this is BloodHorse Monday.
Yes, and we had the bookshelf in the background.
Look, darn it. Sometimes, Sean, you just have to do things yourself. Do you understand? You have great ideas, and I'm an idea man, but I need to be a doer. That's what I need.
So you need to put a bookshelf.
An idea for something called BloodHorse Monday. Now we do it. But I had to do it. Like I do this I've never missed an episode. It's embarrassing, frankly. I should take a vacation. Like other people know how to vacation. I'm not good at that. I just change where I work. It's bad. Byron King, though. Little Paladin on top.
Yeah.
Now that is very full circle with this show, of which we know that, Brooke Smith, big fan of this show. Owner Paladin. Same ownership group as horse named Sierra Leone. Does he finish third in the Derby this year? I'm just kidding.
Hey, if Sierra Leone finished second.
Or second. It's a good joke. Stand by the joke. Who's the Mystic Dan of this year? Since obviously Paladin.
Maybe it's Great White.
Get it done, John. No, but any big issues with the current dozen?
No, I mean, obviously I have Nearly in my number one. Paladin's a close number two for me at this point.
Right. I got Paladin on top, so I agree with Byron.
But, I completely agree with what Byron's saying. At this point, he's proven the mile and eighth twice. And there's nobody on the Derby Trail at this point that can match that.
That's right.
So I mean, Paladin's a deserving number one. I personally,
and he looks green as ever. Like he's going to grow into this too. Like he's winning and he's not there yet. Like John talked about Great White in the Battaglia. We're talking about a horse in the Remsen, which is one of the great predictors the last 3-4 years of good success as a 3-year-old, and then coming back and doing that again at Gulfstream Park, or excuse me, at the Fairgrounds. I mean, it's just a remarkable turnaround between those two races. For sure.
Yeah, but I find it interesting. Obviously a lot of people at this time of year are talking about their Derby horses. We're very, especially here on the show, we're very caught up in what happened this past weekend. But I like what Byron said at the beginning, where the goal of this rankings is from the very start in January, we're already looking at who's going to be the mile and a quarter classic horse.
Right.
And so kind of gives you that kind of basis. Obviously, he nailed it with Sovereignty last year. Things got a little different this year, thrown out of whack when Ted Nafi defected from the race because last year he looked head and shoulders above everybody else. So now we're kind of seeing who's going to fill in now that in his absence. And so it'll be interesting to see whether or not there's any changes, or it seems like Paladin that can be the kind of that horse that's going to last at the top of the rankings from now till the end. So very, very cool to see. If you want to check out this weekly feature on BloodHorse's website, at the top of the BloodHorse homepage, you'll see a tab for the Triple Crown, and then you'll see Byron King's Derby Dozen right underneath that. So click on that. Once again, those come out every Tuesday on bloodhorse.com, and then you can catch it in the daily the following.
I still think you're a bum, Byron, but thanks for jumping on the show. By the way, it's my favorite word in the English language. Calling someone a bum just feels so nice. It just feels so good. Sports Talk Radio does that too. Commandment is the one in the top 5 that I'm fascinated by, and I appreciate. That is one. Look, Into Mischief, Orb on the damn side. I mean, good gosh, the Derby siren, the Derby winner. I mean, give me all of it, right? I mean, that's the one. Haven't seen him on 2 turns though. We will see him in the Fountain of Youth most likely coming up this weekend. I got no real issues with this. I'm with you. I'm a little higher on Nearly than he is.
Yes,
but that's it.
Yeah,
it's fine. But otherwise very, very good person. Do some sales talk, man. Tod Wojciechowski, we've had him on the show before from OBS Sales. Talked with our friend Olivia Newman from BloodHorse. Of course, by the way, at BloodHorse, bloodhorse.com, all the great stuff, stallions and breeding, the sales, all of that. Just a tab at the top of the homepage, whatever you're interested in. If it is racing, if it's the breeding, if it's sales, if it's all of it, by the way, one-stop shop, bloodhorse.com. Olivia, part of that great team over at BloodHorse. This conversation, though, a big change, Sean, in the Under Tack sale and how they, so essentially, I shouldn't say that, not just the sale itself, but in some of the safety measures as we modernize some of these aspects of our game. So what should we be listening for here?
Well, yeah, well, for if you're joining us and maybe you're not as familiar with the sales, so the OBS is coming up with their two major 2-year-olds in training sales here. The first one coming up in March, I believe it starts March 10th, or it's that week, and then the next one in April. And so as part of these, since these 2-year-olds have already had a chance to kind of learn how to be a racehorse a little bit, start training, you have the Under Tack Show where they'll go ahead and they'll breeze in front of potential buyers so you can kind of see how they move and their running and all that. So one of the things that OBS has been working on the last couple of years, and they announced last week some additional safety measures that are going to be coming with the OBS Under Tack Show coming up here in March. Obviously, that will then carry over to April and all their other sales as well. And so Tod sat down with Olivia last week in order to kind of talk about some of these changes. You can also find Olivia's full article on these changes on bloodhorse.com.
There you go. Here's Olivia Newman, Tod Wojciechowski down there at OBS Sales.
I'm happy to be joined by Tod Wojciechowski, the Director of Sales at OBS. How are you doing, Tod?
Great. Thanks for having me, Olivia.
Thanks for being on. Beginning with the March sale, OBS will require all the horses to be examined prior to the Under Tack Show. Can you just explain that process a little bit?
Sure. We, we're always looking for ways to improve. We thought adding these extra control measures would benefit both buyers and sellers. So the short of it is every horse to participate in an Under Tack Show has to be examined by their attending veterinarian and approved for participation in the Under Tack Show.
And what is the timeline for the exams? How far ahead of time do they need to be examined?
So the exam cannot be done earlier than 72 hours prior to their Under Tack day, and they must be turned in 2 days before their Under Tack day. In the past, we've had you always have situations where there's a temporary issue or reason where a horse may not be able to go one day, but can make it later in the week. As always, we work to accommodate those horses. So there may be a horse that may not be able to go early in the week, but it's okay and cleared to go later in the week, and we try to accommodate those horses.
Okay, that's actually the next question I was going to ask you. If they were pushed to a different day, will they need a veterinarian's approval for that as well?
Oh, yes, and that has always been in place for us, that if a horse needed to push later in the Under Tack Show, we needed a veterinarian statement and a reason why, and then also a clear to go by that veterinarian so that horse could go later in the week.
What led to OBS putting these new rules into place?
Well, I think as I mentioned a minute ago, as a company, we're always looking for a way to improve the way we handle our Under Tack shows, the way we handle our sales, and trying to make those improvements for the betterment of both consignors and sellers. The added control measures made sense. One thing in addition this year, we've removed the striking of a horse with the whip outside of their hands being off the reins. We think that's a step forward in animal welfare and preparing and presenting these horses. So that's another control measure that we added this year. Add on top of that, the 2-year-old sales are the most tested segment of the auction market. No other segment, yearlings, weanlings, broodmares, are tested more often and with more stringent rules than the 2-year-old sales. Last year we upgraded our medication rules so that there's no NSAIDs or no corticos within 48 hours of an Under Tack show. Any overages of those medications there are limits involved. Any overages are returnable. So that was a big step forward in medication and testing. And I think it can only improve our segment of the market.
Are there any talks in the future of moving to a gallop only, or is OBS, committed to the timed workouts?
Well, first of all, I think, there's some misnomers there. Consigners have always had the option to gallop a horse at our Under Tack show. They're not required to breeze.
Right.
And even last year, we made that distinction on the catalog for those horses that were entered gallop only. It was denoted on their catalog page. That still exists for us, that consigners still have that option, and a consigner still has an option to gallop a horse at an Under Tack show. That being said, if a horse does breeze, we have been, I've been here for a little over almost 15 years as director of sales, and the one constant that I've always heard from outside sources was transparency. And there aren't many other things that are less transparent than having a horse breeze and not having a time. And let's be clear that there are a number of gallop shows, they do it in Europe, that are, they call them breeze ups. Those horses do not have a time attached to them by the sales company, yet you see, if you ever watched a video of any of the breeze ups from Europe, there's electric eyes all over the rails of people timing horses. And I think when you don't have an objective, systematic method of timing, you then create a lot of opinions rather than an objective data point. And let's be clear about one thing. The time of an Under Tack breeze is really a data point to be used by buyers along with a lot of other data points and variables. Inevitably, if you listen to anybody talk about buying horses at the 2-year-old sales, they talk not only about perhaps time, but they also talked about how they looked doing it. And so there's, the time is just one metric that should be involved in that process. We have had what has made the 2-year-old sales and has made the March, the April and the June sale what they have become, and we are the 2-year-old source to the world, is the quality and the success of the horses that have come out of the sale. I mean, all we have to do is look back last weekend. We had 8 stakes winners, including the winner of the Rabaut, that are 2-year-old graduates. If you go back a week or two before that, in the Pegasus, we had the top 2 finishers, both of them 7-year-olds, and both of them 2-year-old sales graduates. And all of those graduates, there's a variety of different times to attach to them. Some Battaglia went in 10-2, Muth went in 9-3, just as an example. There is a range. And even Eric Mitchell with the BloodHorse, last year he did his study on the 2-year-olds and found that, some of these faster horses produce the most stakes winners when you look at it. So time is a metric. It is one data point. It's not the sole reason, but it's an objective one.
Speaking of good horses that have, come from OBS, Eddie Woods had a lot of great ones. This will be the first full year without him. So what are your thoughts on that? And who do you think may step up and fill that gap?
Well, whoever lands in barn 11 is going to have some mighty big shoes to fill. That's for sure. Losing a large, not only a large volume consigner, but also a large number of quality horses, it's going to be hard to replace. However, I think there's a number of our younger consigners that we see that'll be picking up. I mean, a lot of those horses needed to go somewhere else, and they have. So we'll see our younger consigners step up and I have a lot of confidence that we'll be able to fill barn 11.
And what are your thoughts on the March sale and the catalog that you have assembled?
Well, I think probably 5 or 6 years ago, we made March an open sale. We felt like that buyers needed a larger catalog to feel good about coming. And as the select sales started getting smaller and smaller in number, it seemed to be less and less appealing to the buying market at large. And we've been happy with that process. We have 7 Grade 1 winners from the March sale just this last year. So the quality of horses there, but there's also a volume of horses to allow buyers to spread out over horses. And I'm really excited about the catalog we have for this year, and I think it's going to be a very good sale.
Well, great. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you in March.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, so a little bit of an upset because I think Tod was one of my favorite guests in 2025. I feel like I learned a lot from him. He just brought receipts, like he brought data, and I'm just bring me data. Like I'm a past performances guy. Like give me the hard, give me the numbers, give me the comments.
So are you going to take this data and go buy a horse?
Obviously, that's clearly what's going to happen now. Is I'm going to get $700,000 together and just take advantage of this big.
I believe in you. I believe in you.
It's going to happen for sure.
You can do it. I'm sure your wife will be okay with it.
Why is Louie on BloodHorse Monday tomorrow? Ugly divorce.
Yeah.
We bought a filly. It's like 2-year-old source to the world for sure in OBS. They do a great job down there. It was so casual. Oh yeah, a couple of 7-year-olds. No big deal.
Yeah. We only got
White Amario.
Yeah.
Booth. Like no big deal. It's just names of the sport. That kind of thing. That's unbelievable. It's amazing. Just year after year, OBS. Just you see it. Speaking of past performances, you just see OBS sale, OBS sale, OBS sale, OBS sale, all these big races. Speaking of which, a trio of Derby preps on the weekend. You're welcome to join me on Thursday on the Horse Racing Happy Hour, my personal podcast, as Bob Ehol from BloodHorse will join me ahead of their races on Saturday. Of course, the Tom Pool, the Busher are both on Saturday as well, alongside the Gotham, which will close the card up there at Aqueduct as we get into the last Gotham at Aqueduct. As we say that over and over, a grade 3 mile on the dirt there. Get a couple of interesting ones in here. And we had a winner in Maryland this last weekend in Taj Mahal, second-time starter over a mile in the wide country there. Or not the wide country, in the Miracle Wood, excuse me, on the boys' side of things. Essentially the Tessio prep leading into the Preakness out of the Russell barn. Scratched out of that race was Balboa.
Yeah.
Now we know why. They're going to try him on the Derby Trail again. This is the second-place finisher in the Jerome and the third-place finisher in the Remsen. Now, watching my world go overseas and watching Paladin and Renegade show back up like they have makes Balboa, to me, a very interesting runner this weekend.
Yeah, I thought he looked good at the Jerome in that race. I thought both him and My World ran very well in that race. So coming right back, doing the exact same thing. 1-turn mile here at Aqueduct. I don't see any reason why he can't be successful. The fact they had him entered in the race in Maryland and then decided let's go ahead and scratch and send him back up to New York.
Yep.
That's a good sign to me. That means that he's doing well, that they have the confidence to go ahead and go back into these races. I'm interested personally a lot in actually Crown the Buckeye.
Okay.
Yeah, we've seen him on the Derby Trail in the Gun Runner and the Lecomte down at Fairgrounds over a mile and a 16th, and he ran well setting the pace, but he couldn't really get it done at the end.
Right.
Now he's backing up to a 1-turn mile.
That was after, by the way, you bring up a good point. He was good in the Gun Runner.
Yeah.
Mile and the 16th. Almost got up for that one.
Got there for that one. And now he's turning back to a 1-turn mile. He's not Triple Crown nominated anymore, which means they're not looking at the Gotham as a
way to get to the Derby.
Yeah, they're looking at this as, which, I mean, he still could end up in the Derby. If he wins and gets 50 points. He's got the spot if he wants to do the late nomination here at the end of March. But it looks like now they're looking at, all right, we know this horse is going to kind of be that 1-turn horse. Let's go ahead and get him started. And here's a good spot to get him started with that is in the Gotham. So I think he's going to run pretty big this weekend. Spring, easily the best spot for 1-turn miles. Yeah, in our sport, like no question. You're going to run them at Aqueduct, you get them at Churchill Downs, etc. Like this is a great time of year for those things. Crown the Buckeye fits in there as well. A flashy first-time winner in Iron Honor. Not easy for me to say, so I said it very slowly. Iron Honor, Iron. Son of Nyquist will make his second start. A Blaine mare here, 6 furlong winner in December. Needed this one to get a little bit of time off. They shipped him down to Florida. I imagine they were thinking Gulfstream Park with this one.
Obviously, Fountain of Youth, salty as bleep. We'll talk about that one next. And so it makes sense that he'd end up back up here. Manny Franco gets the mount when it's Aqueduct and it's him and Flavin Pratt's not in town. That's the number one rider. He did have the initial mount as well. A massive speed figure in that race. Very good chance he'll be the favorite.
I would say so.
A very, very good chance. And that's just one to watch. Son of Nyquist, obviously Derby winner himself. You get blame on the other on the dam side. Just one to watch. If he shows up big time in this one, watch for Byron have to talk about him next week.
Probably.
And I'm not kidding, because I do think no, because I mean that's Nyquist, that's blame. That's what we want to see. And if he shows it over a mile and he's impressive like he was on debut, then I think it's one for sure the one.
And if you're thinking that far ahead, this is going to be a nice progression for him, going from 6 furlongs up to the 1-turn mile, and then I'd imagine a mile and 1/8 for whether it be the Wood or whatever fun prep racing ends up.
Probably the Wood, frankly, because Chad Brown also trains Paladin, who's probably going to the Bluegrass, right? So it makes sense that he would
probably
stay here.
too quick to come back for the Louisiana
And
Derby.
this would put him third up in the Derby, third in the form cycle.
Yeah.
I think this is all completely planned. And so they could have run him in any race before this. Waited for the Gotham, and I think that you're seeing exactly why.
I would say, as far as looking at Derby potential going forward, I think this horse definitely has the highest upside in this field.
Upside, yes.
Looking toward that.
I think Balboa's got a dynamite chance. I actually texted this to my friend John Piazza, who works at Yonkers. Balboa starts in the Derby, and Taj Mahal starts in the Preakness.
I could see that.
And she gets both of them in Brittany Russell. So I think it's absolutely on the table. She does not scratch Balboa out. By the way, Taj Mahal won the thing in Maryland, by the way. So, second start ever, wins a $100,000 race. And so obviously it makes sense to move Balboa up to a track where he's very, very comfortable. I mentioned the Fountain of Youth. We get a nice field here. Fills up full 2 pages on our past performances here as we look ahead to the mile and a 16.
We got Rocky's Balboa in here.
Rocky's Balboa.
We're going all in on Balboa this weekend.
A Florida bred called Rockies, which I don't approve of. But anyways, the finest state in the nation. Son of Gervin, though. Louis Saez picks up the mount there. He went 7 furlongs last time.
Are we going to get 2 Balboas in the Derby?
I'm not mad at that. Jackson.
How many people can we place our wagers now on how many people are going to bet that exacta if they're both in the Kentucky Derby?
But Byron's number 4 horse in Commandment will make a start here.
Yes.
He will try 2 turns for the first time for Brad Cox. Irad Ortiz gets them out coming out of the Mucho Macho Man.
Yeah, he looks pretty good in this spot. I mean, this is a really good field. You got Chief Wallaby, you got Napoleon Solo, who's been, I feel like, kind of the forgotten horse. He classed out.
Why not Bravaro ran second behind nearly?
Yeah, I mean, one of the ones I'm really looking forward to is Solitude Dude. I don't know how he's going to do here stretching out. Obviously, it's on the out pond. But
Into Mischief on the dam side, though.
Into Mischief on the dam side, so he's got that going for him. But I mean, I was
Yalpone is the son of Uncle Mo. Like, it's okay to say out loud that Yalpone, because of, we're talking Uncle Mo, and we're talking, at the end of the day, grandparents. We're talking about Uncle Mo and Into Mischief, right? And so there's at least distance in that sire line on both sides. Yes.
But I don't really like to draw here in this race. Tough that out there, but two from the outside. But I was at the Swale Stakes on the Holy Bull undercard, and he really impressed me in that race. So I like seeing them taking the shot. If he doesn't run well here, I'm fully on his bandwagon going into the sprint races this year for sure. I really like that horse. I think he's going to be a pretty good horse.
Pat Mile too far, or think he could do the one?
No, I'd back him for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that kind of route.
Yep. I didn't think what was the Swale, 7, right?
Yeah.
7 furlongs in the Swale, and he didn't look like he was stopping to me at the end of that race. So I know the pace was kind of slow. I didn't let him do whatever he wanted on the front end there, and he still kicked away from him at the end.
Good point.
So I really did like that horse's win in the Swale. So I'm excited to see what he can do stretching out. He does have a very tough post here, so we'll see. And obviously, it's a very, very good group of horses this weekend. But he's the one I'm most interested to see how he does.
Overwhelming win by nearly over 5 3/4 lengths. In the Holy Bull last out. Project Ace, who was third in that race, will not be here, but Bravaro, who finished second, will be back in here as well. An interesting one shipping down from the fairgrounds for Todd Pletcher is Jackson Hold. Decided not to leave this one up at the fairgrounds. Won on debut at Gulfstream Park, though, in December. I think they just wanted a race, shipped him up to, try the 2 turns at least at fairgrounds. They get him there. Nice long stretch there. Less of a stretch to deal with here, but he's going to try to be on the lead. And frankly, for having to break it from the inside, I think John Velasquez is just going to have to go.
Yeah.
And they're just going to have to figure it out. And if he's good enough at a mile and a 16th at fairgrounds in that long stretch, he'll probably figure it out at Gulfstream as well. So I think if there's a longer shot that I'd be looking at, it's the son of Nyquist and Jackson Hole.
Yes. Yeah. I definitely think he's a big player in this race. It's interesting seeing this was supposed to be the return of Ted Nafi in this race. And
Right.
It's interesting now seeing with him gone. And this is kind of
real full field here.
I know, real full field. And it's kind of like one of those things where now everybody's kind of looking at like, all right, this is our shot. And then since everybody was thinking along the same lines, we have a very competitive field in this race.
Yep.
Chief Wallaby coming out of his debut win for Bill Mott. So this is going to be a very good race. I'm excited. I'll be down there on Saturday for it. I'm very excited for
This is a sport with ebbs and flows. But right now, because we have such a stacked stallion roster in the sport, these 3-year-old springs are just spectacular.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just over and over and over. I mean, like the race at Aqueduct, great, right? The golf, great. You get down to Gulfstream Park, it's great. Now we're going to talk about the Rebel, and it's great.
Yes.
I mean, like they're all legitimately great races, and it's really, really fun to watch these different runners. We see the return of Blackout Time here. You and I, by the way, we haven't said anything. We're going to be at the San Felipe on Big Cap Day.
Yeah, and I will be at the Fountain of Youth and the Rebel this weekend. So I'm crazy.
I'm just letting the audience sit in that one for a second. Blackout Time makes his return here, though. 8-5 morning line. Is he an 8-5 favorite for you? Silent Tacting here, 9-2, by the way.
Yeah, honestly, I was a little surprised to see Blackout Time the favorite in here, especially with Witness Test drawn in this race as well, coming in for Bob Baffert on the West Coast.
By the way, Bravaro will run at Gulfstream Park, not at Oaklawn.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So Blackout Time. We haven't seen him since he was second to Ted Nafi in the Breeders' Futurity. He was scratched, a late scratch out of not a late scratch, but he was scratched the day of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile back in November at Del Mar. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes back. I remember from talking to Kenny McPeak, talking to the team last fall, they were very high on this horse, and they definitely thought this horse was probably among their, if not the best chance they had at making the Derby. So it'll be interesting to see him come back here. I was a big fan of Silent Tactics' win in the Southwest last time out. We'll see how the pace shakes up here, but he strikes me as the kind of horse where he's going to put the run in no matter what the pace is. We'll see whether or not that means victory or whether that means running second or third this time out. But I do like him. And if you remember our conversation with Mark Cassie a few weeks ago, Strategic Risk was more, they were kind of maybe putting that effort toward all that weather that got in the way of the training. He maybe wasn't going into that the best that he could. He beat Silent Tactic and the Smarty Jones. Now he's had a few weeks, I believe, of uninterrupted training. I haven't heard anything about Oaklawn missing any training with the weather the last couple of weeks. No. So he's 12-1 in this field. And if you're expecting him to bounce back now that he's been properly prepared for the race, I think he definitely could play a big role.
It was interesting watching which horses didn't seem to mind the time off from training and which ones did.
Yes.
Right? Wasn't it fascinating kind of trying to figure out which ones would run, which ones would fire? I should say not run, but fire, which ones didn't. Horse I'm giving one last chance this weekend is Rancho Santa Fe, Brad Cox, Irene Ortiz Jr. And right, this is his last chance for me. If it doesn't work here, then get him back to one turn. It's fine.
Yeah.
But it just is what it is. It is. I will say this. I wonder if a part of this, we always, this time of year, we're like, oh, these field sizes, blah, blah, blah. We get these nice field sizes this weekend. I wonder how much the Rebel being on Sunday helped that. Because it's not just a horse thing, Sean, about filling the gates. It's a people thing too.
Yeah.
And getting IRAD into Oaklawn on a Sunday because you're running this on Sunday makes a difference for the owners of Rancho Santa Fe. It just does. And instead of having this the same day as, as the Fountain of Youth and as the Gotham, right? I think it actually allows you to get people to Arkansas to run in these races. And I'm obviously correct because John Velasquez, Flavia Pratt, Javier is going to be, Castellano's going to be, and Irad's coming in, Jose Ortiz is coming in. It allows them because of the difference in days to get there. So kudos to Oaklawn for setting this up.
You should have brought that up before I booked all my flights. Maybe I could have ridden with them from Gulfstream to Oaklawn.
I understand that that's my fault because I'm a married person and my wife would similarly blame me for things that I had nothing to do with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take one out of her playbook.
Good job by you. Well, we will be out there. So if you're out there for Big Cap Day and you see us around in our green and white hats that say BloodHorse Monday on them, come say hi to us.
Oh, we're gonna have hats.
They're get here this week.
They don't, but don't you want to show off your nice, beautiful bald head?
Listen,
with the California sun reflecting right off of it.
There's so many beautiful people. It's so dang. And then there's me.
Now, but
they're just like, that guy's not from California. Look at him. Like, they just know. They can tell. Like, when I go to the Haskell, they're like, he's not from Jersey. We know. It's okay. All right.
No, but that is going to be a pretty fun trip out there. So if you're out there in California,
Yeah, we'd love to meet
come
you.
say hello to us.
So, by the way, Saturday, 11 o'clock Pacific, we'll be doing the show at Clockers Corner. So, like, just come by. Yeah, just come say hi. We'd love to have an audience, whatever. Come say hi to us. We'd love to hang out with you. You'll meet some of Southern California's royalty as well. You don't even know yet. Even Sean doesn't know. We got special guests.
There we go.
That show is going to be fun.
Just to put this out there, this is on your happy hour platform.
This is on the Horse Racing Happy Hour. Yeah, so people want to
yes.
check that out. You got to go to @Horse Happy Hour on the socials. But certainly lots of different places. Spotify seems to be my biggest crowd. So there you go.
There you go.
All right. Well, there you go. By the way, Thursday, I'll talk with Bobby Hull on the Horse Racing Happy Hour about the races in New York. On Friday morning on ESPN Radio here in Louisville, ESPN 680 on social media. Go find us. I'll talk to Brian Nadeau. We've had him on this program before. He's the morning line maker at Gulfstream Park, also part of their simulcast as well, ahead of the Fountain of Youth. Of course, we want to remind you at this point in the episode about the magazine. You can check out the magazine under the QR code on the screen if you're watching on YouTube or on Spotify. By the way, give us a follow, give us a like, give us the 5-star review. We would appreciate all those things. And then go ahead and get the magazine as well. We would love to have you as part of our magazine family. Get the Stallion Registry as well. Come to you and make everyone's coffee table a little more beautiful.
Oh, yes.
There's beautiful photos on the front there.
Especially we're coming up on Derby time now.
This is the time. Yeah. If you are not watching and you need to go find it, check out the magazine tab at the home page at bloodhorse.com there as well, where you can sign up for the daily. Get our email from BloodHorse, to you. Start your day with BloodHorse every single day. Costs you nothing, and we don't sell your information, I promise.
Thank you for that clarification.
No. It's actually a thing.
I know.
Horse racing is a thing. Did I sell Sean's information? Find out next week.
The Blood Horse is dedicated to the improvement of thoroughbred breeding and racing for over 100 years. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and save Blood Horse Monday on all your platforms. For the latest news, analysis, and insights, visit us at bloodhorse.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.